Ooh, my computer. You are listening to the Mental Money Podcast, and today we have a very special episode because I got my hitters with me. Sorry, I'm excited. You can tell, right? All right. So before we start, right, before we even go into the whole spiel of the episode, Sharitta, you want to share with us your recent win? And then Jolena, you share with us your recent win, and I'll share a recent win, and we all gonna be sharing our wins because we're winners. Sharitta.
Let's see. Recent win was that I closed my deal with IKEA based off of an idea I pitched to them, like, hey, here's an idea. I think this will work. They agreed. So now we're meeting tomorrow to hash out the logistics of financing the program that I'm actually going to be coordinating and running and all of that. So I'm super stoked. And I also have an audition tomorrow to be on a podcast to talk about my experiences as an employee being marginalized, macroaggressed, gaslit, unseen, undervalued, and all of that. So I'm hoping for the best of that. And then also, I realized when I was looking at my client list that since I started my business, really pretty much this year, I have had only multinational businesses as clients. So these are large corporations, and those have been my only clients that I've had. So I was like, yeah, that's yeah. So yeah, I'm that girl. I'm
Yeah.
that woman.
No, period, Sharitta. Like we joke about this all the time, but we're like, protect Sharitta at all costs. Okay, we need Sharitta in our lives. We need the boundary queen alive and thriving. All right. Yes. All right. So recent win. I got to partner with Joy of Giving Joy Foundation, and we were able to reach back into Haiti and give a micro grant for women to be able to develop economic education and also be able to support 30 families in 5 communities. Thank you.
Yay, congratulations. Yay.
Thank you. It was such an honor. I'm like still buzzing from it. So yeah, I'm like looking for my next thing. I'm like, all right, who's gonna go where? What's we gonna do? What are we gonna do next? Right. Jolena.
I don't know.
You know, come on, Jolena. Every week you're calling me, you're like, nah, oh my gosh, I can't believe this just happened. Something.
But you know what's funny? That's just how my brain works. I don't know. I will literally 5 minutes before be like, oh my God. And then when you ask me, I'm like, I don't know. What is new? I don't
It's gonna come up in the interview, I'm sure, right?
Right. I will say I don't know how detail oriented I should be, but I do have some partnerships coming up that I'm very excited about. There are some new product launches in collaboration with businesses, and then some community oriented events that will be coming up in partnership with some local nonprofits. So I'm excited about those, and I will be more communicative when I have more details.
Okay, awesome.
Well, congratulations on those.
Yes, congratulations, Jolena. So we have gathered here today because of the ending, well, mostly the ending of Cohort 1, right? So Cohort 2 is about to start. I wanted to give people a sneak peek from you guys because you guys are the ones that have won anything and gotten opportunities moving forward, right? Because I feel like you guys have had your foot on every opportunities next that come across your eyesight, right? Like your point of view. Sharitta takes more, I like Sharitta's approach, honestly, and I've learned a lot from you as far as like being in a position of receiving, not always seeking, right? I've learned that from you. And Jolena is just like, she's like, let's go do this. Let's go do that. We're doing this. We're doing it. It's getting done. And the community that we, y'all hear that? We have been able to build together. One getter. Yes. I'm really, really grateful for it. So I wanted to talk to you guys and understand your business, understand some of the challenges that you guys had before starting now, because there's always going to be a challenge, right? Every new level brings a new devil. So what you guys are going through now, what you're dealing with, and in any encouragement, advice, things that you can give to anyone who's just considering investing in themselves to be able to get even an iota of what you guys have been able to accomplish. Yeah. So Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry. I'm so giddy. All right. I'm going to chill. Okay. So let's start with, can you describe your business journey and what inspired you to actually start your business? Either one of you guys can start and go, no, right or wrong.
Okay, I'll start. So I decided to launch my need because of a personal need for sensitive skincare. We were literally just talking about how many allergies we have in my family, and it was really difficult and expensive to find the right products, experiment with those, and then go back to the drawing board when they didn't work, and then also have specific products that worked for each individual family member. So I found that going back to very basic ingredients that didn't have all of these harsh chemicals that I couldn't pronounce was very beneficial to my family. And as I did a lot of that experimenting, I fell deep into a passion. I made more than I could fit in my tiny New York City apartment, and I gave to family and friends, and they had such a positive impact on it. They were seeing positive results in their skin health and their moisture and all of that. So that really encouraged me, but really my family encouraged me. My dad in particular encouraged me that it was my duty to start a business and to make it widely available to people who were in the same position as us. So yeah, that's how I started, and I'm still right there. We still have those same allergies and those same sensitivities, and it really just encourages me to broaden my product line and make my products more widely available than the locals who know me.
Right. That makes sense. So Sharitta, what was the like initial thing in your life that made you realize, okay, visionary development consulting needs to exist. There's a business need here, and I'm the one that's going to be able to fulfill it.
I would say it was my last experience being a Black woman experiencing that pet to threat phenomenon where Black women are seen as pets, as unicorns, until they're viewed as a threat when they are authoritative, assertive, and leading. So I just got tired of the macroaggressions, the gaslighting, and I did not want other people who are marginalized, particularly from the global majority, to have that experience just to collect a paycheck. And being a former global employee resource group leader, I saw that that was a safe space for a lot of people that have my same lived experience. But that was something that I intentionally created. When I became the global leader of our employee resource group, there was no documentation processes, nothing. I created all of that, and I showed leadership like, hey, this is how it should be, this is how it should work. And they were like, hey, that's great. Can you share it with the other employee resource groups, which is what I did. My intention for being a leader was always to create a safe space because I wanted everyone to feel psychologically safe when they were around me, when they were in this group, when they were doing any of the events or anything that I asked of them. I wanted them to have that safety because if they didn't have that safety anywhere else at work, they had that safety with us.
Yeah.
So I saw that that was a big gap where there are employee resource groups in a lot of large organizations, but people don't feel safe there. They don't see the value. They don't feel like if they put anything into it, they're going to get anything out of it. So I saw the need to really structure ERG programs in a way that was not only beneficial for the members, but also the organization itself. And then it also gave like leaders within the ERGs visibility so that they could have a seat in spaces that they normally wouldn't because they're showing up as the authentic self and also showing like, hey, here's the value that I actually do hold and how I can be a proponent for change. So that's why I decided to go ahead and create my business around that. Since it's such a niche market, like when I come out and say it, everybody's like, oh, wow, yeah, like, yeah, I get it. So that's something that I hold dear because I believe everyone should have the right to psychological safety at work and they should be able to show up as their authentic self.
Yeah. You're right about the nicheness of your industry because when we first met, I'm just asking so many questions and I'm like, what is this? Like, I really want to like, and I'm honored to have learned so much about this space because I feel like it's translated in so many different ways, not only just being an employer, but also understanding how we should be psychologically safe almost anywhere and how transferable that is across the board, right? And then for you to be able to create processes and like standardize how that works is an amazing feat in and of itself, because that sometimes takes years, right? So
Yeah.
what you've learned and your experience, and you've transmuted that problem and turned it into a profit. And you've done the same thing, Jolena, right? However, that's not where it ends because we all know that there's nothing about being an entrepreneur that can prepare you than not actually being an entrepreneur, right? So what were some of the challenges that you guys faced going into this and like being first-time founders?
I could say for me, it was making thousands of dollars mistakes, as well as getting services or products from people that I trusted, I thought I had vetted, and they did not deliver.
Yeah.
So that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when like I had seen the work that they've done, I had gotten the recommendations, and then when I worked with them, it's nothing. It's like, this is not, you're not providing me what you said you would. This is not working out, but I'm out of this money and now I have to start over again and figure it out. The thing that bothers me the most in my life in general is paying somebody to do a job that they don't do. Like that is a trigger and a pet peeve of mine, because I feel like if this is what you're going to do and you say you're going to do and you expect payment of it, then you should do it. And if you can't, then just be honest about it, but don't, waste people's time and money. And then just the $1,000 mistakes with just like sending an invoice but not paying attention to the due date, and then I pushed the due date out because it was an automatic 30 days, and I was like, oh, that's not when I needed this money. But so that cost me money because I'm like, okay, now I have to wait. And then it was just the whole thing. And yeah, so I should say, like, and then this is the thing I don't think like social media ever talks about, are those money mistakes that you make in business. They always like to say, oh, you can make a quick side hustle and make this amount of money, but they never really tell you how much money it costs, like that barrier of entry to get into the business, and then how much it's going to cost you to build, sustain, and probably like the mistakes. Because I think if you have not made a mistake that has cost you money, I don't think you have a viable business.
100%. Jolena, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think that just reminds me of what Sharitta said about I don't know what the saying is exactly, but basically if you risk nothing, you get nothing. And I think that's one thing that there is some conversation around it, but I don't think there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are very open about what you're risking and how you're risking it. It is very difficult, especially as a Black woman, which is funny because I can look back on it and see a lot of that. But in the situation, I didn't understand the no's, the disrespect, the disregard. I've literally called resource centers whose job it is literally to help small businesses like me to move forward, and they've laughed and called me cute and said nice try, and you can you should think of something else. Or I've been told by another woman founder that it's much easier if there's a white male face attached to your business in order to get forward, which is not untrue, but just disgusting that I can't stand on my own merit and my own strength and my own perseverance to move forward. So definitely access to resources, having that security and sense of self to know that I still have something of value, even if there are a lot of no's and there are not a lot of resources. It's a mental game.
Yeah.
Beyond anything else, it's a mental game. And I think the other thing that is not talked about as much, which I think is in part what Sharitta was alluding to, is the learning curve. And it can be expensive, but it's also time consuming. It's mentally strenuous, especially when you're a driven woman, which you pretty much would have to be in order to be an entrepreneur. When you see the goal, you know where you're moving to, and you're not moving at the rate that you thought you would be, or at the rate that you might look at other people moving at. So there's a whole lot to it. There is a highlight reel that goes on social media, and it doesn't speak to the trials and tribulations that come alongside this. It's low lows and high highs.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I know we've spoken about this kind of like offline a lot, about like, you know, what it takes and the faith walk. Like we've said, I know Sharitta probably doesn't even want to hear me say that again.
No, you know how I feel about that faith walk.
I know. Sharitta's like, yeah, fuck all that. Okay, where the money, right? And I feel it. I feel it. But what would you, okay, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm going to speak for myself when I say I think even despite all of those challenges, it's made me a stronger founder all around, right? And like and even like going towards the IPO process, or like going towards an investor or a funder, which we all know now, right? They want to know about you and your ability to navigate these things and pivot and move around and do all of these pieces as much as they want to know about the business, how profitable it's going to be, and all of these things. So I feel like it's the faith walk at the end of the day, right? So how did you guys manage, like, especially Sharitta, because Sharitta really kind of nailed my next question. How did you manage that barrier to entry? Because there is one. You need money to make money, period. There's no way around it in our capitalist society, right? So what did you do, or even maybe what did you learn trying to navigate that space to be where you are now?
Well, I was willing to lay it all on the line. So like I have invested everything that I have into supporting my household while I'm also supporting the business. And it has cost me pretty much everything. But I just know for me, the alternative was death, to be quite honest with you. So with that, just understanding that if you're going to do this, you have to understand the cost, that barrier of entry. You have to understand that, because if it's more than what you're willing to pay, then you might really want to think about, is that something you really want to do? For me, being a proponent of psychologically safe workplaces, that's something that I'm going to do whether it's a business or not. I just knew whatever decision I made and how I worked in my business, I was going to remain ethical and integral to myself and my beliefs and how I was going to show up for myself in this world. And there are days where I'm like, I should be doing something, but I can't mentally do it. Like all last week, I was so stressed out. I'm like, I didn't do really anything for my business that much. Like I still, took calls and still did some things, but I was just so mentally drained. I was just like, I can't function productively from this space. And then anything that comes out of me in this space is not going to be beneficial in the long run. Yeah. And that's something that I had to learn about myself. When you are really 100% into your business, the best thing that you can do for yourself is understand who you are, understand how you operate, how your belief systems are, and then what it is that you are willing or not willing to do in order to make this business the success you want it to be. Because some people are grinders. I don't want to grind myself to death. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to stress myself out till I have a heart attack trying to make this work. I want no parts of that. I don't want to, you can sleep when you're dead. I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe in not sleeping. I don't believe in just you got to just be up all hours in the night figuring that out. Like I don't prescribe to that level of entrepreneurship, because I think that is just another cycle of a very destructive capitalist society. And that's not the capitalism that I'm willing to participate in. Like I have to participate in capitalism, but I'm going to be the most ethical and resourceful that I can do it, because I just think that's just the healthiest way for me to function.
Yeah, it's interesting because I the minute you said, which is why I love working with women. because the minute you said that, like I know Jolena is probably like buzzing inside too, but I immediately understood that. And before I met you, again, because I think this is for all of us, right? Before I met you, I was one of those people who used to grind myself to the bone. And until I met you, it was like, all right, wait, you can receive without putting all of that energy and effort out. And guess what? Everything's still okay. Everything I thought was going to be like the end of the world is fine. And I've been in this for 7 years and I'm just having these epiphanies like, right? So it's just like, yeah, I appreciate that you bring that. And I'm what I thought was, if a man were in this conversation right now, he would be like, this is why we don't, well, this is why we don't work with women. This is why we have such a hard time. I've heard this before too, right? We don't fund or support women founders because they have periods, because they menstruate, and because like you need a week of downtime and we don't have that, and deadlines, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, your value has to be outside of what you can produce, and easily understanding that. And when men start to value us for those things too, especially in the entrepreneurship space, I think we'll see a lot more traction, and it's starting to turn that way, as we all have seen, right? So thank you for that insight. What would you say for you, Jolena?
I would say well, the question was, how did I overcome the barrier to entry?
Yeah.
So for me, a lot of it whatever.
All the things.
It was in motherhood. And I feel like in motherhood, you learn the true meaning of advocacy, right? So when I started this business, I birthed a whole new baby. And if there's nothing else I know how to do, is to advocate for that baby.
Facts.
Right. And to Sharitta's point, I can't take care of that baby if I'm not okay. I can't take care of my children if I'm not okay. Right. So there has to be a delicate balance of making sure that I am self-aware enough to make sure that I am protecting myself from severe burnout, because I think burnout is sort of a part of the game in a certain way, even whether you mean it or not, and you have the best self-care routine or not, there is an emotional toll that will have an effect.
Yeah.
So I think really just not losing faith, because how do you lose faith in your child? You don't. You know the beauty of your child, you know the joy that it brings you, you know the joy that it brings other people, you know the potential impact, and you know why you will always stand behind your child, right? And it's the same thing with my business. I know exactly, even when I doubt myself, I don't doubt my child. Like that has been proven to me. Right. Like my customers, their experiences, their feedback has fueled me in a way that is remarkable. They have given me juice when I thought I was out, because they reminded me of that value when I thought that I couldn't convey the value. They reminded me, no, you are supposed to be here. You are providing something of value, and you know it has its place. So there's no amount of no's that's going to prevent me from continuing to stand up and show up and advocate for my child, whether that is advocating for funding, whether that is advocating for space in whether it's, you know, not necessarily social media, but in any other type of media, and talking about it and pushing my initiatives forward and being a support to the people that I am a support for. That's how I overcome that. It's just, there's no giving up. Like, that's not an option. And especially as a parent with a special needs child, I have no intention of volunteering my day as tribute to nobody. No, I would rather have control over my day and my destiny with my children by my side, making sure that as Black children raised in America, they know their history, they know their value, they know their impact, and they're not being taught any other alternative realities.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Good point. So you guys both hit on something that I think is going to bring me to my next question. Sharitta mentions being a conscious capitalist. Jolena, you mentioned your approach to motherhood and how you're nurturing your business in a way that lends to what you believe a good mother is, right? And I agree with you, but what you believe a good mother is how you approach your children. That's great. What about when we're looking for money, right? So how are we articulating that? Because I understand that, but as we've seen through all of these applications, through all of these opportunities, they want you to demonstrate how you're going to be successful, right? Because yeah, there's barriers, yes, there's challenges, and you're a startup, and we know that startups are the hardest to fund because there's no proof that this is going to be successful, right? It's just you loving your baby, and it's just you operating from what you believe is the right thing to do, right? But that's not enough for these people. So how do you translate that now into this is what I'm going to do to be successful and how I'm going to be successful in this space?
Well, for me, it's some grants that I was like, absolutely not, I'm not applying to this. No. So even though we know it's a numbers game, for me, I have to, it does go back to the conscious capitalism in me, is that I need to make sure whoever I'm working with, I actually they vibe with what it is that I'm trying to do. And if I don't feel like this is a good fit for me, then I won't do it. That's that discernment that I have really honed and developed, because that has saved me from making a lot more mistakes than I already have. So when it comes to looking for grants and applying for grants, one, having been through your program has helped me to really be able to articulate, like, here it is, that this is the problem that I'm looking to solve. Here is how I'm looking to solve it. Here's the investment that I've already made. Here's the investment I'm looking for to, not sustain my business, but to help, scale it and grow it. And this is the return that I can have from this investment, because I'm being very specific on, this is how I'm going to use the money. This is the outcome I'm using from using that money. And, this is what I'm going to produce, because at the end of the day, most of the grants are looking for an output from you. So you have to be able to articulate that output that you're going to be able to produce. So having that blueprint that you've given us and being able to not just have it outright, but be able to hone it as our businesses grow and evolve, so that we can just really easily off the bat go ahead and answer those questions without spending hours and hours trying to come up with an answer. Like, will we spend time tweaking it for the question that's being asked? Yes. But do we have pretty much the baseline and the framework to be able to articulate it in a way that people get and understand and will resonate with? Yeah. But that was because of you. So
appreciate that. I'm receiving. Okay, Sharitta, I am receiving. All right. And I appreciate, and again, I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it works, and this energetically works in tandem. If you weren't open to what I had to say, I wouldn't have somewhere to say it, right? So thank you for being open. But what I want to ask you is, what I've noticed a lot of people say, especially Black women in this space, is that this feels like asking for a handout, right? This feels like begging. This feels like are trying to tell people why I'm worthy of this money or this grant or these opportunities. And we've all spoken, because we always talk about removing yourself from that. But how do you feel did you ever feel that way? And let me not suggest that you did, but did you ever feel that way? And then, having taken the training, what do you think about this entire process now? Do you get why they want things to be that way, or like what's changed for you?
Well, so yes, I did feel that way, but I'll explain why I did. But for me, until we all get reparations, and then we just go through that money, and then it'll be a handout after that. Until that is never a handout, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
But from that standpoint, when you are existing in a world where you are invisible and always trying to show up as yourself and prove your value on a daily basis at your work, more, I'm just leave it at work. I'm not going to say anything outside of that. You have that mental capacity that you always have to prove yourself no matter what. So when you have an opportunity for, funding in any form, you're like, okay, this is another time where I have to prove my value or show my worth. It is just compounded on your experience and your existence. And so it's very hard to separate the two, because that was the way I felt when I first started. I'm like, I feel like I have to constantly prove, like, this is why I know how to do this. This is why, like, I have to jump through all these hoops that my non-melanated counterparts don't have to. Is that the case? Yes. But I just know that I had to move beyond that and stop showing up to prove my value and just showing up in my just worth because I exist. I had to figure out how to shift that balance. And then once I knew that every time I show up, I am showing up in my authentic value. I don't have anything to prove to you because there's nothing to prove. I am valuable all unto myself. That really helped me shift it. And so when I'm looking at these grants, I know some grants based off of the amount that's given or whatever is given to you, there could be a lot more hoops to jump through. But I know a lot of times that's because, it's a lot more money, it's a lot more resources given. They want to make sure that whoever is giving it is actually going to use it in a way that, can show like, hey, this is why we should keep doing this. And this is the value that you're given. Because for me, I like to say, like, if this was an altruistic, they just want to do it just because it's the right thing to do, then they wouldn't have any questions. That's not why most of these people are doing it. They're doing it because there has to be some type of ROI for them. So at this point, you need to look at it from a business standpoint. They are investing in your business. What is the ROI you're going to produce for them?
Yeah, very fair. Jolena, what are your thoughts on that?
For me, taking the course really just helped me to understand how to illustrate my value using research, right? Because I'm not the first person to do this. How did the other companies do it? How did they depict their value? And a lot of that has to do with, in my opinion, the reach and the size of the people that you're looking to support, right? Like in your market size. So when they see this opportunity and they see that they have the opportunity to benefit in whatever way, whether it's attaching your name, whether it's through you promoting them because of their investment in you, whether there is some other partnership that happens along in the future, but you make them look good or benefit them in some way by them offering, it's supposed to be one hand washing the other. So learning how to verbally explain what I'm doing, how it can impact people, how it can impact them by supporting me. That was a game changer for me because I did walk into it like I'm doing something good. You should just want to support
Run me that, right? Run me that check.
Right. This is a problem that I have. I know it exists. I know that there are other people who have this thing. So why wouldn't you want to support that? And it's not good enough when, I like to think of it as, I'm sure everybody has like a stingy auntie or somebody in their family who has money but doesn't want to give it. And if you need it, you need to have your whole story lined up. Well, I can't because of this, and this is where it's going, and I'm going to have it back to you at this point, and here are the assurances I'm putting in place, and all of those things. It's the same thing with grant applications, with any other type of funding. You really just have to, whether it's a loan or anything else, you have to prove that you can do something with it, that you're going to be able to multiply that. Like it's an investment in you, and that investment is going to bear fruit. And you have a timeline, you have numbers behind it, you have research, it's data backed. All of that is there just for them to pick apart in a way that makes sense. And the math has to math. It has to add up for them. And I think that Shark Tank did a really good job of making these conversations mainstream and understanding the numbers. Like, okay, well, I can give you this money and yeah, you can turn a profit, but it's going to be like 10 years. That's not fast enough for me. Why would I invest in you versus someone else who can do it faster? Is there a way that you can strategically move faster? So having those conversations within your own business and understanding that if you are going to be in a position to receive from them, you have to be able to illustrate how you're going to be a good steward of that funding, and in whatever way be a good representative of them and that investment. So I think learning that, I think that's one of the biggest problems, especially running in entrepreneurial circles and having these conversations. A lot of people don't know how to discuss their impact. They don't know the real value behind the product or the service that they're providing. Right. So understanding that language, because it is a very specific language that they speak. There is a vocabulary that they have that they're looking for, and that they respond to. And all of that information has been able to help me build my business better, because I did have to go back in and restructure and understand the foundation of things and understand the connection of things and understand the impact of things. And then be able to clearly illustrate that, whether it's verbally, whether in a pitch video, whether it's written. I needed to learn how to be able to explain that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, just having worked with you both, you guys have great products, right? There are products that are not great. Let's be for real, right? Not everything is it's not, right? I see not proposals, not like as lengthy as the ones that we did were, but I see business plans, pitch decks fairly often from other businesses. I'm like, this just is not a good idea. It's like Blockbuster trying to come back. Like that kind of, no, not a good idea, right? So I'm not trying to crap on them. They are just, it's not timely, it's not relevant. There's no real business need, and right? There's no real business need. And you guys have superior products, but we've demonstrated that that's not enough. It's not enough to just have a good product. And I think what I've also seen from you guys through this process, and I've been so happy to see this growth, is how confident you guys are. Like, Sharitta she's like, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is the value. And I'm like, yes, like, yes, get into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's been so amazing to watch you guys' evolution through this process. And even Jolena, like, going through the process of your inventory management and seeing, like, I remember that call where she's just like, wait, I'm not charging enough. And I'm like, yeah, babes, we gotta up that price a little bit. That price got to go up, right? So understanding how to articulate why that price point exists, right? Sharitta, building out new verticals for your business. So I've loved to see it. That's been my favorite part of this, is watching you guys grow through this over the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna shut up now. All right. So business strategy, because love us a good strategy. Now that you know what you know, how are you approaching your business more strategically? Like, I know I heard alignment, I heard, more intentional decisions, but what are you actually doing that are like more actionable, that you can actually measure, more like a TOC kind of thing? Either one of you. Nope.
Well, I think for me, it's not doing work just to be like, I've done some work in my business today. I think I have to remind myself of that, like, every day. It's like, okay, I need to do whatever it is that I'm doing today needs to get me closer to the goal that I have. Right. And if it's not, then I don't need to do it. So really having that as my main strategy for my business, I think, is key for my success as well as my mental capacity. Right. But also leveraging my network a lot more, because there are people that when I talk to them, I didn't really necessarily see them engaging in like the stuff I've done online or anything. But when I talk to them, they're just like, this is great. This is fabulous. We were just trying to figure out, a budget, and we didn't want to come and talk to you until we had that, because we just didn't, we didn't want, one, we didn't want you not to be available. And then two, we didn't want to waste your time. So just understanding that I can keep showing up. And even if it doesn't look like people are paying attention, they're paying attention. So I just need to make sure that I'm still engaging with people and still like, hey, I'm here to support you. I'm doing that. And then also making sure that the people that I do work with, I am getting those testimonials and getting those reviews, because they're more than happy to. I know sometimes, life happens, people forget, but it's just still following up with that. So that I have that proof of concept and that proof of like, yes, this does work. Yes, this is impactful. These are, some of the reviews and testimonials that I have. And this is how I can, use that to not just refine the offerings that I do have, but, you know, expand them going into the future so that they are even more relevant and beneficial to my audience.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that.
Okay, repeat the question for me.
Strategy. What are you doing now to just keep your business in a place where actionable things that you're doing now to keep your business in a place where, like Sharitta kind of said, just keep your foot on the pedal, not only funding wise, but development wise?
So, one, for sure, partnerships. That has been a major thing. I think just as Black women, we have to overcome this idea that we can be superwomen, we can do it all, and we can do it all by ourselves. We can carry the weight of a building on our back. And understanding that we have more power and strength and reach and impact together. So embarking on partnerships is a major, major thing that I'm undertaking. And I think it really did require that shift to understand that, like, I can't do it by myself, and I don't want to do it by myself. It's not as fun. So partnerships for sure. And then the second thing I would say is that when I started this, I thought that I had to reach a certain place before I was able to give back, before I was able to contribute to my community, before I really thought that there had to be like a certain dollar amount that I made before I was able to do certain things. And a lot of times what we don't realize is that it's the grassroots stuff. It's the people who are in the community who see the need, who see the opportunity,
Yeah,
and who act on that without necessarily the funding. Those are the people who get the funding.
yeah,
Because they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're putting the action in there, and they just need additional support, right? It's so much easier for you to say, hey, help me lift this thing up that I've already picked up, than to say, oh, I want to pick that thing up over there.
yeah.
People are more likely to get behind you when they see that action. So I think that has been a major shift in my mentality. Getting things going now, doing things now, figuring out how I can do it with what I have, bootstrapping with support, because you just never know. It's always these conversations where you think it's gonna go nowhere. And I've just been playing with it lately, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna say this thing. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And every time I've done it, people are like, oh, I want to get on board with that. I want to help with that. Or, you know what? I know someone who can help you with that. That
Yeah.
is something that this person right here who's sitting right next to you is doing. Oh, this service that you said, oh, this person right in front. It's just the funniest conversations all the time. So the being in a position of execution always, trying things out, because I think that is the biggest educator, is action, right? Does this work? I had this idea, I put this stuff down on paper, and now I realize that I'm executing. I actually have to pivot. I have to make some changes. So always action, always partnership, and always in just that unbreakable faith that I can be of impact and people are going to get behind it. So, but I have to prove something, I have to show something.
You have to show something, right?
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question. What was the moment that it just like clicked for you? Like everything just kind of like, it's okay, I get it. I know what's going on. And what did you know? Like what was that inner knowing moment where it's just like, okay, I see what wasn't working before and like what's working now?
From what aspect?
Any aspect of your business at all.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it was actually recently. Like the crazy part is that not much changed besides the pitch. Right, I had to come at it from a different angle. I'm providing the same thing. Everything is the same, but the way that I describe it, I'm describing the impact. And I'm describing it in a way that is more universal. Even though it's very, I would say my business is niche, my product is probably niche, the value that I'm demonstrating is universal.
Right. Okay. So how have you seen that turning point translate for you?
I think it just in my head, it
Okay.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And because it makes sense to me, I come at the conversation with a different air of confidence. I'm more willing to talk about it. I don't like when people ask me questions, it doesn't give me pause. So I think that now I'm even more excited to do grant applications. I'm even more excited to just do any and everything, reach out, talk to people about partnerships, all of these things. Like it comes with more ease because I have that confidence around my ability to explain it in a way that feels more universal than before.
Right. So what was that I really want to know like that moment. Like what went off in your head where it's just like, okay, I need to talk about the impact, like the impact of this and understanding how there's like a now new universal application for you. What was that thing that was it like a thing that happened? Was it just like a download that you had in your brain? It's just a thing.
Yeah. So I was watching a pitch competition. I was watching these other businesses talk about their businesses in a way that I don't talk about my business. They made whether it could be as niche as they wanted it to be, right?
Yeah.
But they made the values seem like everybody could benefit from this thing. Like it was incredible to see and to hear these businesses talk and put an energy behind something that's very individual. Like to hearing people talk, I don't drink coffee. I don't even like coffee. But hearing this woman talk about her coffee stick
The
was
cup of
like,
coffee.
all
Yeah.
right, you know, it's the ease, it's the convenience. We all travel, we all do this thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is universal.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not just a coffee lover thing. It's not just it is a universal application of this busy lifestyle that we have, that we all drink and move. We all have these things and we need convenience around that. And how do we create that convenience? How do we do this thing? And so hearing these different businesses, there was another woman who was talking about I'm not sure if I'm going to explain this properly, but she has active wear that is culturally inclusive. So there's a head cover option. There are options that allow for hearing aids, and whether it's a hearing aid or headphones or all the different things, it's inclusive, right? So all these people who don't even have these issues, they're like, oh, you know what, that would be great just to keep my hair in place as I'm running. Just because of the way that she explains it, even though she made a niche product, it it excites people from all different demographics, from different backgrounds, with different needs, and who can see a different application, right?
Right.
You have the children, the parents who are thinking about their children, and they're like, okay, well, they can't drink coffee, but can you turn that into a hot cocoa stick? Can you do these things? So all of this energy gets pushed behind these people who understand how to talk to a room of people and not necessarily single one person out. You can have um, one goal with your product and still talk about it in a way that makes everybody want to join in. And I think that was the moment where I was like, oh my God, I do that. I just wasn't saying that I do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So yeah, it was a huge light bulb moment, and I texted you immediately, and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about switching my pitch. What do you think? Does this make more sense? And I really think that it was that switch from um, just making it more accessible without removing the integrity and the purpose and the goal of your product or service, just making it like, like your consistent example of the eyelash tech, right? Like I am not just doing eyelashes, right? I'm saving time, I'm providing this, I'm giving confidence. Whatever it is, you have a broader application for this one specific thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my light bulb moment.
Okay. Awesome. That's so many things can be said. I'm gonna let Sharitta go. Sharitta, what was your light bulb moment where you were just like, okay, it clicked. I get it. Like I know what I'm doing now. I'm in the space, I'm in the zone. Now I can like move forward. And how has it impacted your business?
I think it was when I had to be able to articulate like the value of psychological safety from a standpoint of, what's in it for the organization. And so for me, it was just like, when you think about a place where you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel seen, valued, and heard, what would you be willing to do in order to secure that? How much of your effort and energy and of yourself would you pour into that to make sure that you always had that space, that place for you? So when I said it like that, that kind of like skipped over these people just, want to make an issue. And then it was like, yeah, I do want to feel safe. I do want to feel seen, valued. Like everybody wants to feel seen, valued, and heard. And then I also, when I came up with the idea that I just recently pitched, I was just like, that's what I do. I get you to the point of being able to create a space where you feel psychologically safe, you feel seen, valued, and heard. And then I give you the tools to build the table that you're going to sit at. So you don't have to just go in the door and think you're going to sit at, like, if you want to build this table yourself, I'm going to show you how to do it. If you want to build the seat you're going to sit on, I'm going to show you how to do it, because now you feel seen, now you feel valued, now you feel heard. So you have the confidence to show up as the value of you in every aspect of your life. So how is that going to change you? How is that going to change the people you interact with? How is that going to change the people you lead, the people you manage? So, being able to get to that point and understand like that's the true value of my business. Like no matter what the services are that I come up with or I sell, that's the ultimate output that I'm looking to present to people. So that in of itself was the biggest game changer for me. And so being able to articulate that and know that that particular output just circumvents everyone's basic existence, because again, human existence, everyone wants to feel seen, heard, and valued. That's every human person wants to have that, especially with the way the world is going right now. Everybody wants to feel like their human experience and their human existence is valued.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm just sitting here just like taking it all in. I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's okay. All right, I'm gonna shut up because I'm gonna glow. I'm just gonna gloat the whole rest of the episode. I'm not gonna do that. All right, so let's go to future. We're gonna talk about future plans and perspectives, and then we're also gonna play that little game that I was telling you guys about. Right. So, what are your future plans for your business now?
I am going the automation route because AI is just the future. But for some of my services, my trainings, I'm looking to have them living on a learning platform so that people can do a self-service training and they just pay for the training, go through the whole training and get what they need to get. So that takes me having to trade the dollars for hours aspect for some of my training. So I know that will help me leverage and reach a lot more of my audience by doing that.
Awesome. Okay, sure. Jolena?
You mean like aside from being an international multi-billion-dollar corporation?
Yeah, aside from that, because obviously, like natural.
Okay. Yeah, because like why else? Adrian says, I deserve.
I deserve.
I deserve. So my business is going to incorporate a community outreach program where we expand our current growing system to include produce for families in need, so that we're fighting local food insecurity. So proceeds of our sales will go towards fueling that side of the business. So we'll be working to improve all around health through our skincare products and through the produce that we provide to locals.
I'm so proud of you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's play a little game, right? Round one, we're going to talk about two different businesses. I want you guys, from what you learned and what you know now, what you've experienced, to tell me which one you think is more likely to get funded, and then the one that you don't think is likely to get funded, what they should do to improve their chances. All right. So first one is a technology company. They're also in the environmental space. They develop and sell innovative, eco-friendly technology products such as solar-powered chargers and biodegradable electronic devices. Revenue is generated through product sales and B2B partnerships with environmentally conscious companies, right? Their unique selling point is that they focus on sustainability and cutting-edge technology. They're in the early stage of their business with a prototype and some initial market validation. Company number 2 is in the health and wellness / digital industries. They are a subscription-based model app that offers personalized mental health and wellness coaching using AI and human experts. Excuse me. It targets individuals and corporates, clients seeking to improve their employees' well-being. Sharitta, wink, 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 hint, hint, hint. Personalized, accessible, and comprehensive mental health support is their unique selling point, and they're at the mid-stage with a growing user base and positive user feedback. Which company is likely to be funded, company A or B? And why?
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to ask them, but they're both in the market and they both have market validation.
The first company has some initial market validation. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Sharitta.
I would say, given the global climate right now, I would probably say B.
Okay.
Because it is one, there is viability in apps and self-service and accessibility to mental health resources. And then that is something that can be beneficial from a partnership standpoint, because businesses can utilize it, and depending on the cost, smaller businesses can offer it for their employees as well. And it's not cost prohibitive for them to do that. Whereas if they had to maybe add it on to as a part of their healthcare, might be a little bit more cost prohibitive, but they still want to be able to offer that support to employees. So I think the viability and the range of market is a lot more viable with B than A. Given that A is looking to create technologies, and given that the resources needed to create technologies is creating a global genocide almost for certain segments, I don't necessarily see that would be a viable option for the future.
Yeah.
If it was something that they were either recycling technology in order to make it work that way, but creating brand new technology that is taking resources from a place that is causing, genocide, civil unrest, and upheaval, I don't foresee that looking good on an organization's bottom line of support.
Right. Okay. Let's play a little devil's advocate, because we're pitting them against each other technically, right? Is that not a market opportunity? If they can accomplish said risk to technology companies without infringing on human rights, right? So what if they were able to accomplish that, and that was one of their if they conducted a SWOT, that was one of their strengths or an opportunity? Are you still going with B?
I'm still going with B.
Okay, cool.
Because they would really have to explain, like, I would have to understand how that barrier entry would look for that pivot.
Mm-hmm.
If that is really something that is not going to be cost prohibitive, because I know making those kind of changes when it comes to technology, especially technology that's based on specific elemental components.
Yeah.
You have to come up with something completely different that doesn't exist, and that in of itself can be cost prohibitive to make that type of transition. But if they have a way to do it, then that could be something that's a viable option. But right now, without having that new technology available, I think it would be very cost prohibitive for them to make that type of leap.
Right. Jolena, before you say something, I love that you mentioned the environmental, and even global implications that might be harmful to company B1 or company A1, whatever, because we don't think enough about how that impacts our supply chain or our ability to produce whatever it is that we produce. A lot of us, because we all have been in that just about when COVID hit, right? you guys were just starting your businesses. So I'm sure you had supply chain issues, Jolena. And whenever there's tariffs on a different country, whenever there are, any issues politically, like with China or Taiwan or Vietnam or wherever we get products from that's not based in the US, it is going to cost us, no pun intended, right? So I love that you mentioned that and that you integrated that into your reasoning, because one thing entrepreneurs should be doing is always having their finger on what's going on in the world to understand how it's going to affect us, especially here in the States, right? So Jolena, what do you think as far as like business A or B, and who's more likely to be funded, why, and then what would you change, if anything, about the company you don't think is likely to be funded?
Honestly, I think they're both a toss up, because I think right now, or at least for as far as I know, when it comes to tech, people are just very, very excited and throwing money at tech.
Yeah.
But I feel like mental health is a crisis right now, especially in the States. And I think that there is more of a push than ever before to create more access for people to have resources readily available. So I'm a little bit conflicted about who would be more funded. If I had to make a decision, it would be whoever had the most market validation, whoever had the most customers, that would be the thing that would be the deciding factor for me, because I can see the value in both.
Mm-hmm.
There we do have a huge issue with cobalt and the mining and all of that, and I do not want to take away from that. But if there was a way to maybe have some sort of fair trade arrangement or something that allowed for less damage to be made, that would be an amazing opportunity. So it would. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, no, I understand
I
what
think
you're
that like my answer is based off the fact that I do have manufacturing experience and I do have supply chain management experience. So when it comes to anything related to manufacturing, I'm always thinking of the supply chain and then what that incurs, and especially if it's creating new stuff, like where are you sourcing, who are you sourcing from, how globally, like what is the global impact, like how, like if something shuts down here, how does that impact it? So for me, any type of manufacturing, especially when it comes to technology, I'm always like, I need to understand your supply chain, how you have that figured out, and then always having your plan B and C, because when you have to deal with a supply chain, you have to have a plan B and C. It's not optional. It's just not. And if you don't have that, then I don't really think you've thought through what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. So from the proposal sense, it sounds like they'd have to have a really, really robust risk mitigation plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then I think I'm going to agree with B. I think B is more positioned for funding. I think A can do a lot of work to put themselves in position, especially since they already have some initial market validation. And they also have like a lot of verticals that they can tap into, which is what you kind of alluded to with B, Sharitta. But then I also do have that concern with technology and environmental because of especially what's going on in the Congo right now, for sure. All right, great, great insight. All right, so round number 2, and then we are sadly gonna have to go. But round number 2, all right. Industry is food and agriculture / e-commerce. Business model, an online platform that connects local farmers directly with consumers, offering fresh organic produce delivery. Jolena, wink, wink, wink. Notice how I put both y'all little industries in there, right? Not little, but you know what I mean. I put y'all industries in there. So an online platform that connects local farmers directly with consumers, offering fresh organic produce delivery. It operates on a commission model, taking a percentage of each sale. Unique selling point, promoting local agriculture and providing fresh organic produce directly to consumers. Stage, established business with a loyal customer base and consistent revenue. Number 2, it is in the education / service industry, and it is a physical center that provides interactive game-based learning experiences for children aged 4 to 12. It combines education and entertainment, edutainment, and generates revenue through admission fees, membership subscriptions, and educational merchandise. Unique selling point, innovative approach to learning through game and interactive experiences. Stage, early stage with a few centers open and planned for regional expansion. Now this one's a little bit harder because they're both in good places.
I'm honestly, I'm gonna have to go with A or number one because e-commerce, that is bulletproof when it comes to pandemics or any other things that we already know the impact that Amazon has had on businesses, right? We want things delivered to our door. We are cutting out the middleman in that process. You're talking about all these different side benefits in addition to the convenience.
Yeah.
If I had to, I would definitely choose that because if there were another shutdown, what would then this edutainment company do? And how long would it take them to pivot? Would they be able to pivot in a way that's impactful? If there were virtual lessons that were given, would these parents still pay for that if they're still home with their children? Like, are you able to translate your services if they were unable then to come to the center for whatever reason? So for me, it would be the e-commerce.
Okay. All right. Sharitta, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree. It would be the e-commerce. It would be A for me. And also I would probably ask them about partnering with food banks because some farmers have food waste because of excess inventory. So instead of just letting it sit and rot on the farms, that could be something where they could partner with food banks and the food banks could come to the farm and get the food. So that way they don't have to, the farms don't have to pay for excess, help to get the food and stuff. And then the food banks just get whatever they can, pretty much, get what they get. And so I think that that's something that can really help from a social economic standpoint. I think that's a really viable business, and that partnership would just be exponentially beneficial for local food banks and the farmers in that area. So that would be something that I think would be really, really viable. The second one, it's okay, but I am a proponent for accessibility for education, and I think just saying you have to have a physical location, okay, well, that's fine, but do you open it up for low income, schools to be able to come like maybe once a week and participate and provide transportation? I don't think that things like that should just only be available when it comes to education for people and families that can afford it. That's again my social compassionate, capitalist, that I always think like, is it accessible for all? Can you make it accessible for all? So that people really get access to, education in a way that reflects how their brain works. So for me, I think the second one can be viable if it does, look at it from accessibility lens and learns how to pivot and create, partnerships with local school systems to, support what they're lacking.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Honestly, they could even partner. I see partnership opportunity here, right? Jolena shaking her. Jolena, yeah, I think there's something there. I'd have to like break it down what it is, but there's something there for sure. All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I'm full. Y'all know. Y'all know I'm a big goop. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm lying. So listen, I really do appreciate you guys for coming on. I appreciate you guys for trusting me to walk you through this process. I appreciate you guys for taking that walk, faith or otherwise. Sharitta.
I just tell it to my bills. That's all my like. If my bills just like, hey, just have a faith walk on your payment. Like I'm good.
I know that's right. All right. So I'm so grateful for you guys in so many ways. And it's been a complete honor to watch your growth, watching you guys unfold, watching your businesses develop, seeing you get these opportunities, getting these wins, pivoting, taking chances, taking risks, assessing, figuring out, adding new products, raising your prices. Like it's been a journey. Like we all go through it at like different points and like clusters, and it's just like, okay, up, down, up, down. But we've gone through it, and it's just been a wave, and it's just been a beautiful, beautiful ride. And I'm so grateful for you guys. Any parting words? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to think to pass on to the next collective of people who want to be in your seat or are thinking about what they need to do to position themselves to be like you?
I would say welcome failure. I think we are trained to avoid it, and there's so much juicy goodness and learning and elevation that comes, and trust in yourself to bounce back, right? Like there's so much to be learned from risking and not necessarily having things turn out the way you wanted to. Um, for me, failure means that you gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And I think that we all deserve that. We all deserve to trust enough in ourselves to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So welcome failure. Don't let it get you down when you fail, because failure is inevitable. Um, give yourself a break when you fail. Give yourself some grace, and then get back up and keep going.
Yeah. 100%. Jolene, Sharitta, any parting words for the second cohort?
Yes. Meet with yourself monthly. Be at the end of the month or the beginning of the month. And, think about or ask yourself what worked, what didn't work, what do you want to try, what do you not want to do again. That's a check-in that you have to do because your business is going to have several iterations. Nothing is set in stone. So what you might start off with might change rapidly because you found out that a version or a part of your business is really hitting and you just need to focus on that. So definitely check in and have a meeting with yourself on a monthly basis and just know that rest is productive and is a form of radical activism. So make sure you have it as a part of your business strategy.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, y'all. Cohort 2's application is open now. It is gonna, as of today, it's gonna be open for 13 more days. And I cannot wait to get you guys funded. Until next time.
Yay, bye everybody.
I have to edit this out now. Great.